I suppose I should bring myself up. Let me start that over again. It's Bob Zagami, and I'm in Elkhart, Indiana. And I am with Curt Hemmeler, who's going to join us quickly here. And I'm going to bring John up for our little tidbit at the beginning of the show to see what's new. Here he comes.
How are you?
All right, let me pull this down. Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
I hear you great, and everything looks great there.
Can you hear me all right?
You have a special guest with you.
I do, and we'll get right into that. The only thing I've got on for this weekend, we have the open house at Seacoast RVs up in Saco, Maine. I think that's the only one that we have this weekend. Anything else on your?
Exactly.
You're a little bit out of the range. No, you got to take your head to the left. There you go. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me see. Better. There we go.
There we go.
There, just press that button. All right. And I'm with Curt Hemmeler. And Curt, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great,
Bob.
great to see you. And we are at the RVIA Elkhart office. Technical Institute.
I am.
So why don't you give us a little bit of your background?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here tonight. So I come from really two things. I was a mechanic by trade, thanks to the United States Air Force, is where I started, learning hydraulics, diesel mechanics for about 12 years into education. And that's where I spent the next 20 years specifically with technician and vocational training.
Let's see, we have one thing in common already.
U.S. Air Force.
Go.
So, I'm not technical at all. The only thing they used was my brains. They wouldn't let me touch anything. Let me tell you. And sure as hell let me fly them. Maria Galante Moore. Good evening, Maria. Glad you could join us. I know we got several on that haven't chimed in there. So you are head of the RV Technical. It's a brand new venture for the RV industry. A lot of excitement around it from everybody. The manufacturers are behind it, the suppliers. I can tell you my dealers are really excited about it because everybody knows we have a technician shortage.
Exactly.
We have to build that career path. So what are some of the ways you're going to look at in terms of building out this institute?
Sure. So a little bit more about my background. I've spent about the last decade working to solve the whole national skills gap that's out there, and specifically not just here in the RV industry, but across every trade, every technician out there, there's a drastic shortage. And as a result of that, and when I was contacted about this opportunity, what stood out to me and why I so quickly said yes is because of what you just mentioned. It's the industry, as some may be aware or not aware, put $10 million towards the standing up of this technical institute. And
pretty good salary.
And of course,
yeah, he's going to go back in. His wife's going to go.
Exactly. So I will say I got a small percentage of that, very small. But that's a big statement for the industry that a lot of industries have just not done yet, and for them, they're going to be seeing the pains of that as we continue. But the emphasis behind what the Technical Institute's going to do is it is going to establish what's called a hub and spoke model. And I'll be more than happy to go into it. I think, Bob, you got some slides that talks to it. But the idea of this institute will be we're going to stand up a facility. In fact, I'm happy to report we just and we'll be taking possession of our new facility here soon. With this facility, this will become the hub. This is where we will. I'm also happy to report that the team here in Elkhart is a long way already down the path. You may have seen at RVX, we out there so you could see the career path for the technician. But the hub will become the place, being that we're here in the heart of the RV industry in northern Indiana. This is where all the subject experts are. So it makes sense that we bring them in here and we create the curriculum. Then we have to establish a delivery system, which is a learning management system, which we have just signed on, which will allow us to deliver it out to our partners and to our dealers, where really the action will take place. And so that's kind of the model there.
Okay, we have our first heckler of the evening. There's a gentleman up in Michigan named Rick Kessler, and Rick says to make sure you ask Curt about the beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. But Rick, before I ask him about the Ohio State Buckeyes, I'm going to ask him about their hockey team in Columbus, which is out on the golf course now because they lost to the Boston Bruins. So now you can talk. Now you can address the hockey, or you can go right to the Buckeyes.
Oh wow, that's
a tough crowd.
Okay.
It's tough, as I told you.
Okay. Well, Mr. Zagami, while you are while you're checking for the next slide to put up, let me ask Curt a couple questions because Curt, you had this great literature here that was put together. Can you hear me, Bob?
He didn't. We got a delay, and he hasn't answered the Buckeye question.
Oh, wasn't that just a rhetorical question?
No, Rick Kessler's on.
So I have to start. Of course, I do have to give great credit and kudos to the Blue Jackets. The furthest they've made it. We're very proud of them.
That's a great hockey
team, all that. But it is second to my beloved Buckeyes, of which I'm a proud alum. And yes, if you can see it, it's kind of hard to see out there, but I am sporting Mr. Brutus. I was asked earlier today at my board meeting why I'm walking around with Thomas the Train. I was very, very insulted by that. But yes, I am
obviously not a Buckeye fan.
Not a Buckeye
or was
fan.
he a Michigan fan?
I have a chance throughout a maize and blue pair of car keys, which I proudly picked up after I stepped on them a few times and then handed them to him. But yeah, I'm still here in the Great Midwest.
So obviously, I'm the only one who's serious about the subject matter tonight, which is usually not the case. But I will bring us back to task here. Now, Curt, some of the literature that you provided earlier for us to look at, your mission statement says, improve the RV consumer experience by reducing repair event cycle times and aggressively growing the pool of trained service technicians. Now, let me tell you, as an RV owner, as well as knowing many other RV owners, the biggest frustration that they have is when they bring something in for service, the time that it takes to get what in the automotive field is a simple task done. Okay, so number one, how do you address that? And secondly, how do you deal with the stigma? And I put that in quotes, but we've all been taught in the United States that you've got to go to college. And then when you go to college and after you get a bachelor's degree, then you get a master's degree. Now we see that there's a shortage of skilled hands in America. There's no plumbers, there's no electricians. There's certainly a lack of RV technicians. How can you get a hold of the societal issues of presenting this as a logical career choice for young people?
Sure. So let me go to the first question about what we're referring to as RECT, R-E-C-T, repair event cycle time. That was presented to me when I took the position as a very important key metric that the industry wants to begin to track. And that is, as it mentioned, we do know that the average right now has been reported at almost 21 days is what it takes to get your coach repaired these days. Obviously, that fluctuates depending on what that repair is, but an average is 21 days. I can't imagine anything in today's world that takes 21 days that anyone's going to be happy with. I'm old enough to remember when the first drive-thrus came through. And if you remember, those took almost 5 minutes probably to get through. Today, there'd be violence taking place if it took that long. So, so I think, I love the that we were going to begin to track. We do not have a lot of the data that I would expect or we need to have to make some data decisions instead of just feeling decisions. And RVTI will be a key part of establishing that. But the repair event cycle time, where it really kind of spearheads what we're going to do is, if you imagine, if we train a technician, our level one we'll talk about a little bit more here. We are confident that they will be more prepared, able to troubleshoot faster, quicker, and diagnose things correctly the first time, and not having repeat repairs and such. Now, it is not the technician is not the only piece here. Obviously, we got to get parts delivered on time. We have, but as I've shared with our team and with the board is, we're here to train technicians, and we're going to put our arms around them. We're going to help them create, if you may, where they can house, and through this data system, they will be able to reflect back on all of the certifications that they have received, but really embracing that technician. The second part of your question about the stigma, that's real. That's a real issue out there. But no, I think it's a fair of what is out there. Couple of ways. First of all, it's going to take time. Just like it took time many years ago that our parents and our grandparents and my parents said, the only way you define yourself by success is if you go to college. And plus, I don't want you to get your hands dirty and all that. The reality is those jobs are still out there. We need those jobs more than ever. We sent manufacturing away. We brought it back, but we forgot that we need to train some folks. And we have to, and I stay optimistic. One of the things that I've done in my past is build relationships with school counselors, very large group, state, national group of school counselors. And these are your influencers. You have to remember, you have to them as well too. They were brought up the same way. Well, I only know college. So educate the educated. Be very successful by doing something they really want to do. It's also going to require employers and such to pay respectfully so that a person can have a sustainable life on potentially a lower wage position. And I think that's where supply and demand will drive that up. I think if I was to give I have a brand new granddaughter of a year old, which I'm very happy, Miss Ellie, I stopped, and as I was holding for her first birthday this past week, and I was thinking, okay, how to give her guidance in the future about college, and is college the only route? And right. I got to say, it's just not. And there's other countries in the world that have to getting to that corner. But I'm optimistic. Just in the last few years, if you notice, a lot of the state fundings and federal fundings are talking towards this technician by these technicians.
That's a good point. Let me jump in with Jerry. Jerry's on from K. And they prefer to train them. Most of the guys are master certified techs. Certainly all of them are certified techs. They is a service. So they don't care where you bought it, who you bought it from, or what the product is. And David is the type, David always says to me, Bob, I'll take any training session that you can bring to my facility. And they'll do Dometic, they'll do Norcoat, they'll do LCI, because he believes in his people getting trained. That's not an expense. That's an investment, and it shows in the quality of work. He's got a good point. Jerry's always got good direct comments. Jerry says, with the poor quality of appliances in RV units, I would think the manufacturers would want to train techs. Getting some bad social media, they are indeed. So it isn't just for our technicians at the dealership level, Jerry, although that's critical. And every one of our dealers in NERVDA right now has got a help want to sign out for technicians. How this goes across all the platforms in the RV industry, Curt.
First thing I want to do is I have not had the pleasure of meeting you, Jerry, but compliments to you. Hearing what I just heard, you probably run a very successful business. I have been out. I have in this position since January 15th, and I was new to the industry, if you haven't figured that out. So in my travels, unfortunately, I have seen some good, but I've seen a lot of not so good things going on. And it sounds like, Jerry, you have it right. Invest in your people.
Well, that's what Jerry works for David Major. David owns that company, but David is right along with all of that. He understands it, and his customers. We did some videos with him last week. His policy is he doesn't have a calendar out beyond 2 weeks, but he never. And the reason for that is he's on Cape Cod, number one, and guess what? Middle of summer, he doesn't want somebody in an RV on Cape Cod with a problem. That they've saved up all their life to go to Cape Cod for 10 days or whatever. It's open, so he can get right to them and bring it over here. And most of the time, they get them out in 1 day. I mean, it's a model shop. So when you do visit New England, we will go down and see them. Chris, great session. Very excited about RVTI. From what perspective, Chris? Are you a technician? Are you working with a dealership? I'm glad you're excited about it, but what is it about RVTI to get you excited? And we'll wait for Chris, but go ahead and I cut you off on that question.
No.
But the whole,
I mean, as far as what we're doing to address, first, I probably should also clarify, because I think there's a little bit of things that I've heard so who are you actually training? I think is another, we are, at least initially, our objective is really to train the service technician that you find at a dealership or a service center or even a mobile tech. We have created a curriculum, and it's something else that is going on out there that's increasing the demand on technicians. Is we have an aging population of technicians. We have a very large group, and this is unique to RV, but it is definitely in the RV world, that grew up wrenching. I call it wrenching. Grandpa wrenched, dad wrenched, and so I grew up on the farm. That just doesn't happen very much anymore. We had to create something that would take a person of today who may have not been exposed to that, like you or I or we may have, and we have to, because that's really our future. And the level 1, the level 2, and the level 3. What's great about this program is it does take a person who doesn't know the difference between an open-ended wrench and a box-end wrench, and we'll teach them the basics so that we can make them a lifelong career path. And we will build their abilities, their confidence through a career path. It's like the other group that you just mentioned. I'm sorry, Jerry.
Jerry.
Jerry. He obviously embraces the need for that. We did that. We're gonna be able to solve this. It's one piece of solving the technician shortage that's out there.
Hey, Curt,
and Rick has it. Go ahead, John.
Along those lines, we're talking about getting people to stay in the business as opposed to a high degree of turnover, which every business owner finds that to be a big problem. People come, they stay for a while, and they leave when the work gets hard. Number one, with the industry dominated by 2 large companies, Thor and Forest River, but hundreds of others manufacturers, how can you come up with a curriculum that it is standard to the point that if Forest River products are done a certain way and Thor is done the opposite way and Grand Design is done a third way, how can you come up with anything that is standardized enough to ship it out throughout the country?
Sure. Great question. So the way the career path or our curriculum is being set up, and unfortunately I don't have a slide to show you. I don't know if I can hold this up. You probably aren't going to be able to read it.
Which one do you want to show?
So here's level 1 over here, level 2. So that,
we got a little bit of a delay. It's not going to work.
So anyways, and of course you see all my contact information, the school contact information. Reach out to me at any time, and the career path is set up, and the way we can speak to all manufacturers or all types is level 1 is going to teach you basic electrical, basic plumbing, basically all the things that a PDI technician needs to know. Okay. Level 2 will go into more diagnosing, troubleshooting, and of course these are all systems or appliances. So we're not going to necessarily teach a specific appliance in 1 or 2.
Okay. But
level three
overall process.
Yes, a level three is where you can get into more of the specific appliances or elements that might be unique.
Guess what time it is, John?
Hey, everybody. It's that time. It must be about 20 after, because this is the time, Curt, this is really cool, where we go into our commercial mode here. So watch what we do here. So my job is to say thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And one of the ways in which we are able to reach 3, 5, 7, 10,000 people each week with this broadcast is through the work of you folks, where you, down below somewhere on your screen, you hit a share button. Share it with someone who's thinking of buying an RV. Share it with someone who already owns an RV. Share it with someone who is trying to fix their own, or
share it
whatever
with
the
somebody
case
that
may
wants
be.
to work in an RV.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So share.
Yeah.
And we get our large audiences because of people like you. And Bob, I know you want to bring up who our sponsor is this particular week.
Right. Sponsor for our 6th week in our contest period for April and May is Bradford RV in Brockton, Mass. And you can win a $100 gift certificate to their parts and accessory store, or use it to its service, or put it as a down payment on a new RV. But you have to spend it at Bradford RV. We'll make the drawing on Sunday morning, and Ray Norris is down there now. He's hired Riney Leiberger. Riney's down there, so they got a great team at Bradford. They've been down there since 1962. One of our longtime NERVDA members. So little shout out to Brad, and thanks for sponsoring our contest this week. All right.
Hey, Bob, while you're
Yeah.
looking for the next slide to put up, let me ask Curt this question. He alluded to it earlier, but I didn't want it to go without getting back into it. One of the big issues that dealers have with service technicians in training is sending them away for 2 days of training, but you add a day on at the front end, the day on in the back end. They're gone for a week. You had talked about the hub and spoke process model that you want to put into effect. Tell us about how that works and how it will benefit the dealership.
Yeah, no,
If I can, before you do that, that ties into Rick's question. Yeah. Rick has a sane question.
Yes.
Nothing about the Buckeyes, nothing about Michigan or Michigan State.
Yeah.
It's actually got to do with business.
Wow.
So,
okay. Well, I got nothing then.
Yeah.
About Ohio State.
So Rick says, besides Florida RV Trade Association, can you announce who the regional partners might be?
Sure. Again. So model, remember the hub is here in Elkhart. This is where we're creating the curriculum. We have a LMS system that allows us to create that and deliver it. It's these partnerships. Now, the way that's going to work is we totally appreciate and understand the busyness of what goes on in a dealership. I've went out, seen that myself. Many of the folks here that have worked on this have spent years in this industry, have seen it. They know the challenges with that. So the way we're addressing it is that we are going to eventually be able to deliver them in hopefully every fashion we possibly can, from totally online to face-to-face, where we send an instructor out, to training instructors in the dealerships themselves. And with the curriculum we have, the ability to deliver it through the LMS, and as we create online, the method of which we deliver. Now, who might we deliver this through? It could be quite a bit anybody. I don't want to limit really anybody from doing it. There will be partnerships established, or regional. And these regional partnerships, we are in the process currently of creating the rules of what it is to be a partner with RVTI. You can imagine our greatest asset and what we're very proud of is our curriculum. And so we want to make sure that we can protect that in a fashion that it can be always held at a certain, because we're going to be giving a so the regional partners, one that we've been working with, Jim and Lance down in Florida, who we're very have enjoyed very much working with them. They're actually the pilots going on right now in their neck of the woods. But we've also been contacted by Texas, and we've been contacted by a few other for-profit entities. We've been contacted by a rehabilitation center that takes adult workers and looking to retrain them. We have talked to the veterans folks, different organizations there. So a regional partner typically will be somebody that we have a discussion with that is willing to follow some of the guidelines that we establish. And from there, they would become a delivery method. We could train people for them. We would train at their location, any way possible to help us solve the technician shortage by bringing training to them.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's so important because the last thing a dealership wants to do is lose that person. They're already short on people, then they send people away. And training becomes more of a problem for the dealership than it does as a benefit. Bob, we must have some more questions here from our audience.
And please also know that the training facility here in Elkhart, obviously, if somebody wants, we will be running those training continually. So we don't want to eliminate the fact that somebody does want to come here and train, but we also we remove all the possible roadblocks that we can for training, basically.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to several people up in New England, and we've had relationships in the past with Lincoln Tech. That's a possibility, but also some of our larger dealers are a possibility, and majors might even be a possibility. So when you're listening on how we can handle this on the regional basis, then get a hold of me and let me know what that is.
Or if interested in becoming a partner, please get a hold of us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go Spartans. Now, do you think the guy
that foul language being used out there? You said I couldn't use foul language.
Do you think the guy could have held dinner for a half hour for you? The power of breakfast.
Yes.
And we're gonna say, Rick, you went to dinner.
I hope he's having a good dinner.
Well, I hope he is, because he's gonna have a lousy breakfast. Hey, John is not back in Worcester. John's out here in Elkhart with me, but he's in a different room because we're getting too much feedback on the computer and his phone. So he is close by. Okay, what about the mission statement? I think that's what I put up there. What about the mission statement?
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
We can. To what regard? What would you?
Okay.
Believe that I'm really here.
In the other.
Oh,
I thought I wanted to just show that I was.
Just show that you were here. See?
Right. And if you mentioned our special guest across the hall, across the room that is here providing.
Making sure the boys behave themselves, right?
Look at, she's got 2 cards over there. And,
tells us when to shut up and do that.
He doesn't.
I'll let. If you want to go over, I'll let you do it yourself. But you're a little bashful. Okay. All right.
Let me.
You notice DePietro's not bashful. Camera John didn't like.
Kind of clear. I started here January 15th, and so here we sit today, May 8th, right? I believe it is.
Yep.
And I can tell you, in my 25 years of professional life, that I have met very few people with the operational and the business savvy that Miss Sharon Lee has. Not RVIA is so much better because of this young lady.
Yep.
And I will tell you, I have been fortunate just to walk in. Her role, very, very basically, is she's done a lot of everything here. In fact, one of the things I've said to her is we got to start peeling some of this stuff off because she really has. She was behind putting this together. Now, I don't want to
it's a big team,
but
right.
She has been instrumental, and that's her role. Her role by title is she's Director of Education Operations, but she is really in the essence of the Wizard of Oz. She is the Oz behind the curtain. She has been really putting this together. She's and is instrumental. The whole career pathing, all of this was done even before I got here. So I'm very fortunate. As I've told her, she's now she has pushed the baby bird out of the nest, so I can fly a little bit by myself, being new to the industry. But she's She's got a lot of years here. In fact, she just celebrated. We just had a huge celebration for her.
You did?
Can I share that?
How many years?
50 years?
No.
Oh, sorry, no.
30.
30 years.
30 years with RVIA.
Yeah. Started at 8 years old. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, she's also very helpful to the associations, and certainly nerved her. We worked with you on the TNT program. And yeah, when we call up, we get the answers.
You do.
You know, and
she'll find them for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And she's got a great staff here too.
Hey, Bob.
They do a nice job on that.
Now that she
Yes, sir.
sees that we don't bite, maybe we can do a special show with her at some time in the future to talk about other aspects of what RVIA is, because it touches so many areas of the industry that you know, really the behind the scenes people, the worker bees at RVIA are really the ones that make it happen, and they get no credit.
Yep.
They get no stage time. They don't get their pictures in the brochures. And maybe by the time we're done, we'll butter her up that she'll come around and be on the camera right between you two guys. She would, in fact, be the rose between two thorns.
Hey, easy, DePietro. Easy. Yeah,
Hey,
that's a good point. I think the thing that's exciting about RVTI and the education department, education and training has risen to the top of the discussion board.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anybody in this industry today, whether they're a manufacturer, or a supplier, a dealer, or even a campground, because campgrounds have issues trying to get mobile techs in and trying to get a hold of dealers to get people aware of what is happening and appreciative of the investments that are being made. The caution, and I'm sure Curt would say this also, this isn't going to happen. I'll just kind of throw that over there.
Yes, you are correct, Bob. When I took this position, and as I mentioned, being new to the industry, I was a strategy plan that had been created by a collection of folks, and the strategy was pretty detailed, and it was pointing out current technician population, which I agree to. It was also a big part of recruitment. We need to bring more into the industry, which I agree with. And then the other one is staff. So basically, find, train, and staff. And that is what I've spent a good portion of my life doing. The part that has been new to me is there is still, as I get out and I travel around, we as an industry have to come together. We speak it a lot. We say it a lot. We've actually thrown some money to it, but we still have to build that. Still have to understand not the short-sighted but long-sighted, meaning there's a heavy competition for these young folks, especially the good ones, the ones that are good. We have to at least show uniformity, respect, and trust among ourselves so that we can keep pushing that needle and make the RV industry, regardless of what position somebody takes in it, a desirable place.
Hey, Curt.
With Sharon and the rest of the team. Yes.
Is there ever a good time to launch a new program like this? Because in the 10 years that I've been affiliated with the RV industry as an owner, you know, in 2007 and 2008, Elkhart had one of the highest unemployments in the country. And now, 10 years later, it has one of the lowest in the country. So when things are bad, people say, oh, I don't have time for that because I'm trying to get ramped up. And then when things are good, as Bob has experienced with some of our dealers in New England for training, I don't have time to send my people to training because I'm too busy doing what I'm doing. So I'm wondering if you and the people that you answer to have ever said, is this the best time? And is there a best time to introduce a new program like this?
No, I don't think so. I would say, as you look at the last 10-year trend of sales of units and such, that it's been record-breaking, right? Logic only tells we do move houses on wheels, and so things are going to break. And if you have record sales for 10 years, at some point you got to start repairing some of these things. So I think that tsunami of a need, I think it's here now, and I think it's that if the market and climate are correct, We should have probably started this 5-6 years ago.
5 years ago, right?
But that's okay. We're doing it now, and you're going to get the teams here and our commitment. I just had my second board meeting earlier today, and everybody's as well as dealers, and everybody agrees there's still a little bit of, we got to fine tune some things in that room, but I think just the sheer supply and demand that's out there, and I believe the customer is going to make this happen for us too. They're going to be tolerable so long.
It's kind of got two outcomes, because when this program runs successfully, you keep the practitioners in the industry to move on to level 1, level 2, et cetera, and they stay longer. But at the same time, if they're providing better service to the customers don't abandon the thought of owning an RV because it spends more time at the dealership than it does at the campground.
Yep. And when you go back to that recruiting, you mentioned veterans, but aren't you also going after retirees?
So
and you mentioned the retirees
group. So as I've traveled around, there is a very large tenured group. One thing that I found very interesting or telling is in this industry, I have found a lot of folks that are on their 25th and 30th year. It doesn't matter whether it be in the technician side, the service side. They're going to eventually, move on and retire and do things. Well, then there's a bunch that have been here 1 to 2, 3 years maybe. There's this big gap. And so one of the things I believe to help solve our problem here is to take those retirees or take those senior folks and say, I know it's in your blood. I know you still want to do this. Would you be willing to teach? Those that don't do will teach. And I think that's a pool that RVTI can begin to work on also to fill. Remember the hub and spoke model. Well, imagine these folks traveling the world, enjoying their retirement, and we logistically you say, hey, I see you're going to be in San Diego for 3 days. There's XYZ dealership over there, or there's one up in Maine. I see you're going to be there for a couple days and some gas and what have you. Will you do some training classes for us? And that's kind of, as they come through some certification training back here for training, they can be. I believe there is an answer.
Yeah. One of the things, when you look at your career path, you got electrical, but we had specific training for electrical, electronics, appliance specialist, chassis specialist, slide out specialist. Talk about those individual disciplines. When I look at that, that's an area where I think a lot of the retirees could fit in. Maybe they were electricians, maybe they were plumbers, maybe they don't want to work 5 days a week. But if a dealership had a plumbing person that they was on call to come in 2 or 3 days a week that just did plumbing, guess what? All our plumbing guys are going to come on Thursday. We're going to do that. How does that work into this?
So I know this is a real radical idea. It's not really that radical, but maybe here it's radical. You're going to hear us talking about. We want to house this and protect this. And I know there's concern about information being shared about certified techs and all that. And the best way we could go into a whole, this is really, I know Sharon's chomping at the bit because she just gave a whole explanation earlier today, but I'll do a quick summary of it. And the idea is that the technician really owns their digital resume, okay, in this database of technicians. And so if you could imagine that if we keep building this database, and as techs become masters and they're in this database, to your point exactly, Bob, if I'm a dealer out there and I see a certain slide out, but I only see it 3 or 4 times a year, the worst thing I'd want to do is employ somebody for a complete year, paying them probably top end because they're a master at this level. Wouldn't it be nice to have an inventory by number written, not even by their name, as much as number 4386 in the database has this particular slide out? Can I contact them and employ them for 2 days to fix my customer's unit. It can be done. And I believe as we evolve and as trust continues and supply and demand goes, that we will begin to see much more agreement and understanding to this. It's just, but we've got a lot of history there. There's a lot of fear of this tech running over here if I do training here. And we're going to address some of that with finding sites to do training that are neutral, not necessarily at a dealership, so they can rest possibly concerned, because there's some real concerns, but it's a real thing. I think there's also some perception of that. But I know the markets I've been in, ironically, if I go to a service tech, walk across the street, they already know all the techs in the area. So but it's not going to be our responsibility is to secure that information and hold it. And it'll be up to really the board, which is representatives, to tell us what we because we're going to house it. We're not going to give it out. We're not going to, other than the tech themselves will have their information.
Okay, hold that thought. Your turn.
Okay, everybody, we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, both live with the live and our studio audience as well as those that are watching it on replay. And you, both categories of people, have the capability to look down at the bottom of your screen and look for that button that says share, and share that with your Facebook friends all over the place. So whether it is someone who lives nearby or someone who lives, that you've met at a campground and lives on the other side of the country, share that, because the content in this show tonight is very special and impacts everybody in the industry, both those that are on the selling side, the buying side, and the owning side. It does impact everyone. And Bob, I know you want to talk about our friends at Bradford RV Center.
Yes, our sponsor this week is Bradford RV in Brockton, Mass. BradfordRV.com. They are giving away the $100 gift certificate that will be drawn on Sunday morning for all the entries this week. So go down below on our Facebook page and enter the contest. And then when you get a chance, stop down and see Brad and Ray Yeager and Ryan, the rest of the Bradford team right there on 28 in Brockton. And good, strong nerve to dealer, and we appreciate their support. I do want to jump back while I change screens, if you would. One of the things becomes an issue sometimes, certainly for some of our dealers. Every campground, certainly every campground in New England, has a list on the wall of the mobile and independent technicians. Why? Because the dealers are so busy they can't get to the campground. But if a customer is going to love the RV industry, it's going to be because of our campground partners and RV resorts where they use it. So when it breaks, they almost expect the campground to fix it. That's unfair. Now, some dealers don't like that, but our independent and mobile techs have to be a key ingredient in this, because I'm often amazed sometimes you might have an independent tech who just happens to be a great propane specialist. Yeah, they can fix the awning and do everything else, but wouldn't it be great if the dealers knew they'd rather have somebody try to troubleshoot propane for 8 hours or go to a database and say, I've got 3 people here, I'll call that mobile tech, have that mobile tech come in and work on that. Where's the discussion on that?
Sure. I will tell you that process, I asked that exact question, is do we do anything with this mobile tech idea? Because to me, it makes all the sense in the world, especially in today's world. A lot of these customers cheap, and the expectations that continue to rise of repair and such, and the mobile techs are a very group out there that could help solve some of these issues. I will say our initial is to train currently the dealer techs and to get them going, and the service techs, but it is not off the table that we will move to also training mobile techs. If you can imagine in our career pathing, it would be very easy for us to add those type of certifications that might be unique to a mobile tech. We will not discriminate against training anybody that's willing to come into our industry. I will tell you that. We just can't afford to discriminate.
Right. And we do allow the mobile and independent techs to come to our training sessions. Mm-hmm. And there's 3 or 4 of them that are very faithful about it.
Yep.
There's some that not.
We've actually had a couple on the subject experts that have come and provided input that our mobile techs have added to our curriculum design.
And Curt, have any
question, John?
Any goals been formulated so far as to what type of numbers of people you'd like to be looking at in the first year? How many students you'd like to be dealing with?
Actually gave some numbers today, and I believe, if you notice my elbow, I was looking across, and it is, we're looking at 2,700 folks trained this year, which would be 2019. Because of the partners that we'll be establishing, we believe that number will almost double for 2020 to anywhere from 5 to 5,500 folks trained, and that will continue to scale up as we add more partners. And as I shared with you today, we're meeting as we reviewed our 3-year strategy with our board for approval, and I want to thank many of them for approving our 2019 budget to allow us to keep going and doing this great work. But if you think about it, this year as we get established, we don't have those partnerships there yet, but in the years to come, as you scale this out, it'll just become, doubling to tripling, and to a point of where hopefully we can get everybody trained. So that's kind of what we're thinking right now, adding 2 to 3 partners a year, possibly more. As we reached out, if you want to become a partner and all that, please reach out to us. But we have to get the school open first. We have to pilot the curriculum to make sure that when we send it out, that it works. The thing we want to do is send out something and have it not be great, because a lot of times you just get one shot at it, and if you do it badly, right now.
We haven't mentioned our new feature. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? That says podcasts are now available. You there?
Yes, go ahead. Say that one.
He may have hung up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted you to talk about the fact that we just launched the podcast.
You're talking to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you see the slide?
Yes, I do. I only see a portion of it.
Yeah, it says podcasts are available. Tell them how to find the podcast.
Okay. On the Nerve the Facebook page, as well as the Nerve the website, I believe there is a tab for both of them. And all of the shows that we've done so far this year, am I correct?
Yes.
I've lost you a little bit. All the shows that we've done this year, and about 20 shows from last year. We've been doing this show for about a year and a half, so we've got about 75 different experts that we talk to, real smart people in the industry. And what we've done is made those videos available for podcasts, so that people who are driving to work or on an airplane or doing one thing while doing something else, it allows them to listen to it and gain the knowledge from it that way. What we've done is tried to keep them as generic as possible, as evergreen as possible, as us professionals in the broadcasting industry say. So we're not talking about anything at a specific time of year. And they're available, and we want you to listen to them and share them as well.
Okay, let me go down. So people who lose, our connection is slowing up. Right. So talk about the outreach and the updates, Curt, in terms of where people this, how they can communicate with you if they have ideas, how they can do something on a regional basis, because like I said, this is an all industry effort, and we want to make sure that we talk to all of those people. Sure. And I think we are.
Sure. No, thank you. I mean, obviously being on your show tonight is definitely one form. Also, I would hope to return in the future with more updates as you find some room for us to give those updates.
Well, if Sharon says you can come back,
you are correct.
Have to look at the evaluation forms after you're done.
Or you may, after she goes, you won't want me back on anyway, because she'll do it much better.
Depends on where you take us for dinner.
That's true too. It's as you shared there, and you can see on the screen, those are on That content is continuing to evolve. We're working on our webpage as we speak. So as you imagine, we're really a startup situation, and so they are live. You can always reach out to Sharon or myself directly. My email address is chemmeler@rvti.org. You can call me directly. If you're interested in partnerships, feel free to also reach out to us for that. But the greatest thing is, Bob, is please share this. Please share what you learn. We'll be presenting at the Power Breakfast tomorrow here in Elkhart at the RV Museum. There'll be up to almost 1,000 people there. One of the questions I had is I'm going to try to get every communication. The best one is if you go through one of these social media updates regularly.
Yep. No. Sharon, anything that did we leave out anything?
No, I think you got it.
RVTI.org though.
Oh,
yep.
I did. I screwed it up. Okay.
Hey, Sharon at least spoke on
Because
camera.
John didn't.
Sharon, go around the camera. Come on.
Sure, you can come over and say hello.
Come on.
Come on over and just say hello to them. Karen. Sharon. Come on. Oh, you work hard enough for what you do. Did I get you there? Yeah, I got it that right.
Okay.
Okay.
Sharon, come on.
It's
Make you feel welcome.
it's good. It's good.
Welcome to your office. For 50 years you've been here. You look pretty good. For 50 years.
Yeah, I'm 100.
Oh.
I imagine, and this wasn't planned. She's been sitting there not really wanting to come over, but
Nodding off every once in a while.
you've spent a lot of time here. You've seen a lot of programs come and go. You must feel pretty good about where your education program is and where the RV industry is. Because I said it's at the top of the scale now.
Top of the scale. It's we've been doing it for a long time. Felt more like we were, behind the scenes. Program, but we a signature program of the association industry.
I think it will. I think it will. Yep. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
We would today if you didn't spend all this time and sticking it out, because those of us who are in the RV industry, she had plenty of excuses to leave. So,
But it wasn't just me. Patrons like Bruce Hopkins,
yep.
who has been, very instrumental in getting this off the ground.
And
30 years ago.
inducted into the Hall of Fame this year too.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
well deserved.
Come in August, you get to see him get inducted.
That's right. That's right. The August thing. All right. All right. Well, we're running up right close to an hour, and we try not to keep them. I don't see any other questions there. John, any closing?
No,
we're going to give Curt. We're going to give Curt the last word.
This
Okay.
was great.
Back in
They
camera.
invited us to their office here. And
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
I think we had like an instant rapport. You had met with Curt at another
RVX.
event earlier. And you said you guys hit it off, and I think we all hit it off. And I think he looks pretty damn good for a grandfather. I saw the baby pictures in his office. I thought he had a newborn. Little did I know it was a grandfather. It must be the Midwest air or environment that allows these people who are basically our age, Bob, to
I know.
look 20 years younger.
I guess.
Well,
Must do that.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we're very proud of that. Obviously, proud of the whole family.
Grandkids are
oh my
wonderful.
gosh,
Nothing like it, right?
Wonderful, just wonderful.
To have a reward for not killing our children.
And you see why she's made it all these years.
That's
She
right.
can make it work.
Right. Whether you got one or whether you have 10.
So I my last word here is, first and foremost, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming to Elkhart, for putting this out there. We're here to serve. RVTI is here to serve the industry. We're going to continue to do what we think by asking many folks out there, your association, others across the country. I encourage everyone, if think that we could do better or that we might be missing, please reach out to us, because it's easier for you to come see us than me to be able to get out to you. I will continue my world tour. I will continue to go around and meet with folks. And if there's something you would like me to come see, Sharon or myself, our next trip is taking us to Oklahoma for their meeting.
But they don't have lobster.
No,
Yeah,
You've got to come to New England. This is called
we're-
RVing in
we're-
New England.
we're everything.
I mean, I like Roger and Cheryl.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna eat in Oklahoma?
No, that's true. That's true.
Lobster, clam
So-
bake,
but
mussels.
Maine
you're
lobster.
That's all it. My invitation back in Salt Lake City.
You did.
Our
You
schedules
did.
just haven't
You
worked.
did. It hasn't worked, but I
Right.
will definitely be up there. I
Right.
mean, I will be there. I've opened many schools up in that area, and when you can go to McDonald's and get a lobster roll, I tell you that, you know, life is good. Life is
Which
good.
we don't do.
Which you don't do. But as a Midwesterner, you think it's awesome, you know.
You
So.
can feed those people from the Midwest anything if they love it.
But no, but I just want to say thank you, and thank you. We're looking forward. I'm looking forward. I'm excited to what the future holds for us and for the industry.
That's and to your point, you're kind of like the captain of the ship. Whether this program succeeds or not, you're a key part of it.
Mhm.
But unless everybody out there, the manufacturers, the dealers, the suppliers, unless we all get behind it, unless we
Exactly.
all support it, I don't want to hear the complaints 5 years from now.
Exactly.
We have a unique opportunity here to use the talents of a lot of people to make this industry much better, not just for the RV industry, for our customers.
For our
Because without the customers, we don't have.
Very well said. That should be. I'd like to leave it on that last word,
Yeah.
and let us be the catalyst to get that done. And if we don't, continue to.
Kurt, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sharon, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
All right, we'll see you folks next week. Take care.
Bye-bye, everybody. Forgot to say, let's go RV.
That's right.